Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I want to start by saying that after the video I have recorded with Michael Yon, that was an interview that I had on Friday, literally a few hours later, my internet modem, I think you say it modem in English as well, you know, that tool that so-called receives internet, I guess, I'm not an expert. It broke down and I was not able to access internet over the weekend because the service is not working during the weekend. That's how it looks like here. Anyway, I just got it back, brand new, and I'm glad I can record another video for you. Thank you so much for all your feedback after my interview, the first interview with Michael Yon. A lot of you appreciated it. Some of you haven't, but it's a small percentage. And there was a question that I have asked Michael about what are the laws in Japan regarding the anti-Semitism. And I don't think he fully answered it, but there is a different interesting news that I came across from Japan, where he lives at this moment. So we will look into it, but we will focus this video on those data centers because they are actually very important, guys. And I know a lot of you already have an awareness of it, especially those of you who live in the United States, and maybe some of you are already being affected by their presence. So we're gonna look into it, few videos, important ones. And we're gonna end this video with the level of cruelty that unfortunately, I think it was always existing on planet Earth. But now, due to the social media, we can see more and more how people treat other beings, animals, you know, other living beings. We're gonna see it. I think you've seen the story from Hawaii, but I'm gonna play it before we end this video. So before we start, I want to say huge thank you to Jean, Ray, Martin, and James for your donations on PayPal. Very much appreciated, guys. So now let's start with, you know what, actually, let's start with those data centers. Then we go to what happened in Japan, then briefly actually in California as well. Several days ago, not a long time ago, about a week or two ago. And then we're gonna end this video with the story from Hawaii. So maybe first we should look into some information. And that's what I wanted to do when I asked about the data centers in the world. So it says, as of early 2026, so this year, there are over 11,000 active data centers worldwide, with the United States holding a commanding lead, accounting for roughly 37 to 45% of the global total. Driven by AI and cloud growth, the US has over 3,900 plus facilities, followed by Germany, the UK, and China. So now, this is pretty significant number because US is leading in those data centers. Now let's go through few videos. I really want to play it for you. The first one, you will be seeing people presenting how their water situation looks like. Then you're going to hear from some people who are opposing this in the regions that they don't want those data centers to be built, but do they even care, you know, those so-called powers? Of course they don't. So let's gonna play it. Let's take a listen, because of course this is not just going to be in the United States. This is a project that is worldwide. Some countries will have less due to the size of the country and probably the importance of it, I would say. However, this is a global project. So let's take a listen, guys, to a few videos about the consequences of those data centers already happening. Already.
And here's even more witnesses and testimonials. Do you think they care what we, the people, have to say about it?
So just a few miles from where this data center is going to be put up. And I also did not know that this was happening until 2-3 weeks ago, which is interesting because I'm all over this issue. First thing I just wanted to know is if anybody in my community here tonight is in support of a data center in Cumberland County. No. Also interesting to me, I want to read some quotes from some people who live in communities that have already put up data centers. Quote, "I've been here 81 years. I can't stay here." Quote, "My mom has been here her whole life, 82 years. She's not happy about it, but she does want to leave." Quote, "My neighbor was washing my clothes and messed up a whole load of whites because it came out stained from that brown water." A conversation between a journalist and a resident. "Do you feel like it's safe to drink?" "No, I buy water." "Have they addressed that?" "No, they haven't." "Have you gotten any information at all?" "No, none at all." Quote, "This is my water pressure in my kitchen, a trickle." Quote, "This is where I fill my buckets to flush my toilet." Quote, "I can't breathe at home. It smells like gas outside." Quote, "You know when you light your stove and the gas seeps with that little ticking noise? That's what it smells like." Quote, "My electric and gas bill is more than my car payment." Quote, "The light pollution is we don't have to have a nightlight in the house. You can walk around the house at night and see everything. It's that bright." And my favorite quote, a lawyer for Microsoft, quote, "Nobody really wants a data center in their backyard. I don't want a data center in my backyard. Data centers, once they're operational, don't bring a lot of jobs." So how do data centers impact communities? Jobs, a few dozen specialized jobs, usually hiring remotely. Electric, bill increases, extreme added burden on the grid. Air quality, increased ER visits due to asthma, COPD, and other breathing issues. Water, loss of water pressure in homes, water tainted with sediment, unsafe to drink, aquifer strain, which, by the way, South Jersey already has issues with our aquifer due to overusage and multiple years of droughts in the summer. Cumberland County is the poorest county in New Jersey. This isn't happening to help our county. It's happening to take advantage of our county. These data centers are only popping up in the poorest communities in our countries because the wealthy people do not want them. They make people sick, they steal our resources, water pollution, air pollution, noise and light pollution, and what do we get in return? Because it ain't jobs. Three counties in Indiana have put a moratorium on building data centers. Several in Georgia, Missouri, Illinois, Arizona, across the country, communities are protecting themselves from this poison. Are we going to allow it in Cumberland County? I want to ask the council, where will you go when the water stops flowing out of your faucets? Where will you go? Where will you go when the air smells like gas and makes you sick? Will you look around for a community whose leaders had the spine to say no to these billionaires? Or will you stay in Cumberland County and offer your children what is left of it to inherit? Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's come to my attention that there are several flock cameras installed around our town. My resources count over 30 of them, and I have graphics showing where they are. I'd like to be passed around to the guests here tonight so they can see where these cameras are. These cameras utilize AI to track you and your family when you're out in public. They run by a company, Palantir. This company claims that they just record movement of vehicles and they will reduce the crime rate to 0. However, people much more educated than I on these cameras have proven this to be false when speaking to their city councils. They do not monitor where you drive, but they also monitor where you walk, what you do, what you say, what's on your phone when you walk by, and they spy on you all the time. Today, I walked around and I noticed the one down by the bridge was pointed towards the courtyard and the field, not towards any roads. So why would it be pointed towards the river, not towards the streets, if it's just to monitor vehicles? Also, in order to bring the crime rate down to zero, they would need to be able to predict crime before it happens. And I think that that is a slippery slope. Some cities are discussing adding this AI to police body cameras, which would be constantly monitored by an AI, which would make a judgment call about releasing drones, also controlled by this AI. Again, I see as a very slippery slope, along with the military drones that we've seen used over in Iran and in Ukraine. That is not my biggest problem with these, though. The owner of Palantir, Peter Thiel, is a man mentioned in the Epstein files over 2,200 times, making him the fourth most mentioned individual in the files. He accepted $40 million that we know about from Epstein. The victims of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were human sex trafficked, reported almost all members consisting of high-profile and ultra-wealthy individuals, and they witnessed murders, ritual sacrifice, and cannibalism of infants, that being the consumption of human flesh and blood. They used code words for their victims like pizza, jerky, and grape soda. I have a hard time believing that any human being could do something so evil. This is something that I would be told in a story about vampires. And I don't know about you, but I think that vampires are meant for campfires. They are supposed to be a mythological being, and they're not supposed to be real, and definitely should not be in charge of the security and safety of our city. I believe that any decent person would say no to giving up their safety and security to someone with such little value of a human life, let alone a potential ultra-wealthy pedophilic vampire in the Epstein files.
So the gazebo's right here, right? So I'm trying to capture this area where we have people hanging out.
This is our cold water pressure in the kitchen. This is where I fill up water for storage. Those are the things we have to fill up to flush the toilets.
So you can see the sediment from the data center. Wow, and that's just from the water coming out of your faucet.
Yeah, and this is what's in all the pipes.
Just the well itself is probably 20,000, and that's not counting any of the
All the
faucets,
replacement
yeah.
of the fixtures and
That's
faucets
just
and
the way.
toilets and the lines that come underneath the house. It's overwhelming because you really feel like you are up against this huge wall that you can't penetrate. There's nothing that you can do, and they don't care.
I'm here in Mansfield, Georgia, driving by Meta's new 2 million square foot data center facility. Facilities like this are being used to power things like ChatGPT and other AI tools that are becoming integrated into our daily life.
Data centers going to be a very hot item.
This entire supercomputer is built to power Grok.
We see data centers as the most exciting asset class.
Meta is building a 2 gigawatt plus data center that is so large it would cover a significant part of Manhattan.
But data centers come with big costs, from light and noise pollution to the environmental impacts to the potential rising costs of energy bills. These facilities put extraordinary demand on the power grid and require entirely new infrastructure.
Oh my God. They should be responsible for that, not us.
Search the internet for profits that Meta has made, Amazon, Microsoft. They can afford to pay for their own generation.
We came to Georgia to ask two questions. What's the true cost of the AI revolution, and who should be paying for it? Your house is here, and the data center is right there.
It's less than 400 yards.
Beverly and Jeff Morris bought their home an hour's drive from downtown Atlanta in 2016, but their roots in the community run much deeper.
Being in the country has always just been my peace and my therapy. When we found this place, we decided that this was it. It was perfect.
I was actually raised probably 5 miles from here.
So this is one of the ways, in my opinion, I'm sure I'm not the only one, you agree with me, how to depopulate this planet. That's what they are doing. Clearly, this is what they are doing. And they are targeting, as that woman said during that hearing, the poorest communities. Does this remind you anything from the Schmovit era? I think it does, right? To some extent, of course, because this is on a different level, absolutely on a different level. So this is a very serious topic, guys, because it's not just for the United States. This is a global situation. We see how this goes moving forward. I still believe there is some divine plan that all of this is going to like literally evaporate one day somehow. I don't know, maybe I'm too hopeful, but that's how I feel. So now let's go to Japan. We change this for a moment. We're gonna look into what law has just been passed in Japan. So I'm gonna mute this. What does it say? Japan's new anti-Islam laws send shockwaves. Halal banned, mosques banned, call to prayer banned, burqa banned. So let's read this. Actually, I'm gonna play it, and as it's playing, I'm gonna read this to you. Japan hasn't banned Islam, but it has done something Western governments refuse to even discuss. Japan's foreign resident population sits at around 3.8 million, roughly 3% of the country. That number took decades to reach. When it started rising faster, the government commissioned a report in 2025 asking whether a formal immigration cap should be introduced openly in public as official policy. The Prime Minister, this is her, the woman that you just saw, ran on a platform of cultural preservation. The government's chief cabinet secretary said new foreign residence policies were drafted to respond to citizens' sense of anxiety and unfairness. When you move to Japan, you are expected to learn Japanese to a high standard, integrate into Japanese society, and respect Japanese norms. The system is built around the assumption that Japan stays Japanese. No Western government talks like this. The ones that try get called fascists. Japan doesn't ban religions, it just decided quietly and deliberately that mass demographic change was not something its people ever voted for and built policy around that belief. You can agree or disagree with the approach, but at least they had the conversation. Most Western countries never let their citizens have it at all. So I don't know if any one of you is watching me from Japan. I would like to know what's really going on, because you know, a lot of things that we come across, we also have to question. I'm not sure if this prime minister is a good one for Japan, but let's leave it there. Now let's go to California. Let me find this article because this is insane, but why we should not be surprised as far as California goes. California legislature passes bill reducing penalties for oral anal sex with willing children. So let's read this. This is from April 25th. I bet you didn't know this. In 2020, California State Senator Scott Wiener pushed through SB 145, a bill that quietly made it easier for adults to avoid lifetime sex offender registration after having oral or anal sex with 14 and 15-year-old kids, as long as the age gap is under 10 years. Does it remind you of certain Chabad, guys? Anyway, let's continue. This is the kind of crazy legislation that has people questioning California's priorities. While supporters claimed it was just equality for LGBTQ I think they forgot plus and something else, youth, and close in age scenarios. The bill applies regardless of the genders involved and left the door open for judges to show, I don't know the word, so I mispronounce, leniency, I think leniency, in cases involving minors who are barely in high school. Okay, so absolutely crazy, but I think we should not be surprised with California at all. Now I want to show you the story from Hawaii. So this is about, I think, 3 days old, but I saw it yesterday and I was like, what is this? There's a lot of cruelty going on. And sometimes I don't want to talk about it or report this, especially with, you know, animals or children, because, you know, it affects you, right? But here is this video and I want to play it for you. This is from Hawaii. Very interesting how someone took into his hands the justice system. So let's take a look.
You've all seen the video of the monk seal that almost got hit by the rock from the tourists who threw it. If you didn't, here it is again. And we've all seen, or some of us have seen, environmental activists, I like to call them, who took matters into his own hands to educate what might happen if you mess with our land or the animals. And our attorney over here wants to make it clear we don't condone violence. But we did make a letter of recognition for Mr. Ambassador of Aloha. I know everybody's trying to keep him anonymous. And I do just want to say that from our caucus, you know, we see this all the time with people with a different type of mentality coming in and destroying our stuff, essentially, in this case, animals. But we'd like at least the airline to play this type of video on all flights incoming, so people don't do this kind of stuff. I don't want to leave it on a negative note, but I did want to get that out. Mahalo. You've all seen the video of the
There. What the hell? What are you doing? Why would you throw a rock at it? Hello? You fucking Holly? You just threw there. What?
So Igor did it. I think Ukrainian. I wouldn't be surprised. Someone actually left the comment under that I'm Ukrainian and I'm ashamed. But they are doing worse things to people, right? And we know it. But I want to say it's not what is worse to human or animals. We are all living beings and we all matter. And our lives are important. So if you're hurting animal or you're hurting another person, it's not what is worst, what is less worst, in my opinion. So guys, that's all I have for you for today. Let me know if you are watching me from any area that is having those data centers. I would really like to know from the direct comments from you. Or if they are planning to have those centers somewhere near you. Because this is serious stuff. This is not a joke. And how this will move forward, I don't know. It looks like even people who are living there and opposing it, they have no saying because they don't take their opinion and their opposition into consideration at all. Why should they, right? Because who decides? Who decides? The reptiles decide, right? Thank you so much for watching. If you appreciate the video, make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And leave the comments down below. Let me know what you think. If you choose to support my work, the best way is to become my Patreon supporter You have locals or PayPal as well. And if you have Instagram, please follow me there. Lots of love. And remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity. And I see you in another video. Bye, everyone.